Welcome, good morning, everybody. Welcome here. This is Lorenzo speaking from Tallinn. Nice to meet you. I'm the managing director of Sustainability Acceleration Program in Startup Voice Guys. And today we are here to talk about this program that is about to start. So, as you can easily understand from the name, the goal of this session is to help everybody, all the startups that are interested in joining our acceleration program, to know more and clear their doubts about how this is work. So today I'm joined by three, in this moment, two amazing people, and that I would like to introduce, and I will give them the word a little bit later to tell a little bit more about themselves. One of them is Max, that is the general partner for sustainability in Startup West Guys. Ciao, Max.
Hello, everybody.
And the other one is Baran, CEO of Fresh Sense, which is one of our alumni in the acceleration program of sustainability. So we invested in this company. He's undergone the program, and today he's been so kind to join us here. Ciao, Baran.
Hello, Lorenzo. Thanks for inviting
And
me.
hopefully we will manage to have also Lalit, that is running a little bit late. That is also one of our alumni, but startup life, CEO life is full of unexpected events. So first of all, I want to really thank Max and Baran for being here. I know you're really busy, but it's very nice for you to be here and help everybody to know a little bit more about this program. So before I give you the floor, I just want to say a couple of things and give a little overview about our acceleration program, and because many of them maybe don't know how our Startup Boys Guys acceleration program works. It's basically a 15 weeks of content program, and is hybrid in the sense that 80% of the program is being delivered online, and the program is going to be 2-3 weeks on site, mainly in Copenhagen, and is expected to start on 26th of February. So the application for joining the program are still open until February 2nd, and is a mentor-based program. So basically, as a startup, you will be exposed to several coaches, several mentors. I expect at least 20 of them. You're going to have a session also with VC to ask them questions, with alumni, peer-to-peer mentoring, and we're also experimenting now corporate mentoring. So bring corporation to help you get a peek on how it is to work with corporation. And it's based on 5 tracks. So the 5 tracks, which are sales, fundraising, company building, pitching, and sustainability. So these are the main topic we're going to work with. But having said so, I would like to first give the floor to our guests to say a little bit more about themselves. So I will start from Max. Can you tell us a little bit more about, in 1 minute, what was your path and what is your role as a general partner in Startup Voice Guys?
Sure, absolutely, and thank you, Lorenzo. It's a pleasure to be here and answer any questions that the startups who are thinking about joining the accelerator may have. So I'm the general partner, meaning that I'm mostly taking care of the investment side of things. So we've been working with Startup Wise Guys for the past 18 months, 24 months, and those times have been quite difficult. So we still managed to invest in about 20 businesses. We have 2 alumni from those businesses today. And we want to continue investing, continue deploying cash into businesses that we really truly believe in, businesses that are really active within sustainability, as Lorenzo was saying. And so it's really much the core focus of our vertical here at Startup Wise Guys. And so my job as a GP is to secure the investment, figuring out if that's what kind of terms we want to agree on, and then being there very much for the long time, right? So the partnering between an investor and a startup is a very long time commitment, because we want to be here during the program, but we also want to be active and help after the program when there are subsequent funding rounds, and so we can keep on helping. And so in my background, to add a little bit of legitimacy to what I'm doing. I've been working with startups most of my career. Joined some kind of a fintech startup in London, where that eventually became a unicorn, and then launched my own that eventually sold, and then started with Startup Wise guys recruiting startups to join the Accelerator. And so we discover more and more every day. That's the beauty of it. So Lorenzo, back to you.
Thank you, Max. And I see that Lalit just joined. Thank you for joining. I see that you don't have not camera, but I think that you have a little bit of trouble, but it's okay. So I will ask you, Lalit, to give a very brief introduction about yourself and about SenseGrass. So maybe you can do a small elevator pitch to get a understanding of what you're working on.
Sure. Thank you, Lorenzo. I just before I'll start, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Sorry for the camera because my machine have some problem. But guys, first of all, good afternoon, everyone, or maybe good morning to some of them. I'm Lalit. I'm the founder and CEO of SenseGrass. SenseGrass is a soil intelligence platform. So we do the soil and carbon management in the soil. So we have our own. It's an IoT-enabled AI solution where we have a patented soil sensors and AI agronomist, like it's a combination of AI software and a patented soil sensors that gives that measure the nutrition and carbon value in the soil and give the recommendations to the corporate as well as to the farmers to reduce the emissions. We joined sustainability program, I think 2 years back. And since then, it's been a good journey. Of course, down the line in the call, I will share my experience as well, but that's my quick intro. And of course, apart from SenseGrass, I have built a previous company that was an exit. So it's been almost 9 years I'm into the startup. And I think one last thing to add, the one common thing in my all startup journey is that all of my startup are somehow impactful and sustainability focused. So there is a lot of tech involved in the startups, but there is definitely the sustainability and impact angle always be there. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalit. And I will move to Baran asking the same question. Please let us know a little bit more about you and Fresh Sense.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for inviting. I'm Baran. I'm the CEO of Fresh Sense. Fresh Sense is an AI and IoT startup that aims to extend and predict the shelf life of fruits and vegetables. We joined a sustainability program almost 1.5 years ago. It was one of the best decisions we made so far, I think. I spent my life in cold rooms and packing facilities for fruits and vegetables. I saw the pain point with my own eyes and joined forces with Jem, my co-founder. And we developed this unique technology, and we can extend and predict shelf life, fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, cut flowers in cold rooms and hopefully in the transportation in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Baran. So the first thing I want to say now to the audience is that basically the Q&A is already open. So if you have any question for whoever of the panelists, you can write your question in the comments and we will read it. And of course, I have also some questions for you. And I wanted to start with Maxim, because I think that one of the things that most startups are asking me, and they want to know the more, is about about the money and how the investment works. But before talking about this, I would like to ask you, who are the startups that you as general partner are you looking for the most? What are the startups that can actually apply and that fit the most in your investment thesis for this program?
Thank you. So traditionally, we invest in pre-seed startups, at least to give a stage of the growth of the startup. So that's pre-seed with revenue. So we want to have some kind of a proof of market, a little bit of traction. So we see some customers, we can actually interview them, figuring out what are the pain points that the startup is actually solving. So that's the stage at which the startup should be in. Now for the vertical, sustainability, impact are big words that can be understood in many different ways. So what we are understanding within sustainability is really much the entire supply chain of agriculture and food. So we strongly believe that there is a lot to do within that chain. There's a lot of solution that can easily solve a lot of those issues. And so within that full vertical, we have agriculture, food, and circularity. And so we have those two examples of Fresh Sense and Sensigrass that are very much active within that sphere. And so this is where we believe we can help the most, where we have a lot of the capabilities, we have a lot of the mentoring, the expertise, and so we can help the most. Now, in circularity, of course, that's a bit of a wider term. We receive a lot of applications from different industries that are outside of agriculture and food, but that are still extremely relevant. So we assess, whenever we have a first talk with a startup, we assess on figuring out if that's the right match for us. It has to be a win-win solution, right? So it has to be a win for the startup where we can really provide a lot of help, but it also has to be a win for us where we see the potential and we see the growth for the startup to come.
Absolutely.
So that's more or less where we're the most interested in.
Absolutely, I completely agree in the fact that there must be a fit, not only startup with the investor, but also investor to the startup. And can you share us briefly how the investment looks like and what are the conditions, in the sense, what kind of investment Startup Wise Guys does in the startup? And all the startups get investment from the acceleration? That's one of the most asked questions, for example.
So if we're looking at the funnel of startups, right, we have about 200, 300 applications. And out of those 300, we are selecting 10 startups to join the accelerator. Those 10 startups all of them receive an investment. It can be up to 120,000 euro in cash investment. And what we are asking for the accelerator is 30,000 back, 30,000 euros back for the cost of the accelerator. And what we are asking for is actually at cost. So that's how much we are spending in order to get a really high quality program with the right people, with the right mentors. And so there is this up to 120 euro investment into each of the startups. And then once the program is over, for a follow-up round, we do invest in about 40 to 50% of the startups that we have. We do a follow-on of up to 250,000. And so this investment comes in two different phases. But the first one of the 10 startups that are selected into the accelerator, yes, I can confirm that all of them receive an investment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to move to our alumni now, because you told us that you both joined the accelerator from 1.5 to 2 years ago. But what I'm curious to know is which was the status of the company at that time, and why you decided to apply not only to an accelerator but to Startup Wise Guys Accelerator program. So can you tell us a little bit more? I will start from Baran this time. So please, also because you tell us that it was the best choice of your life. So we're curious to know how you made this choice. Maybe you can make better choices as well in our life.
Sure.
Please go ahead, Lalit.
Okay, sorry. I don't. Okay, great. I'll quickly, answer the question. So, I think for us, it was a very crucial decision. I think, as I told you, we are almost like 2.5 year old company, and when we got into the program, we were like having some clients, we have some traction, and initially, we have done the first MVP. I would say more than MVP with some paid customers, and it was a very crucial time for the company to get the mentorship and the advisory support on the different verticals, especially the impact side, how to scale the company, how to bring the mentors, right? And I think, let me tell you, there are very, very few sustainability focused accelerator in the world, right? And especially if you a European startup or a startup, like even if you have a focus more on the European market, I think this startup make a lot of sense, right? Because they have a huge network of the people from the different verticals. They're focused more on the sustainability, and when I say sustainability, that's a like a real sustainability where the mentors really focus on the impact matrix and all these things. So I think it turned out to be very good investment for us. Investment needs like as selection of the startup and get into the program, and now as an alumni, we're still getting support. Right? Recently, I think a few days back, I had a call with Nancy, and these are like the best friends for you. These are the like best early stage investors for you if you have this kind of venture which is into the system. So I think that's my overall view so far.
Thank you, Lalit. Baran, what about you? What have you done?
When we started the program, we only had our MVP with only one user and two small customers, very small customers. And now we have customers in 3 countries, more than 10 users. So I think it was a great choice. It was a great decision to join the program. Both of us, me and Jem, we are first-time founders. So I think if you're a first-time founder, you should definitely consider joining an acceleration program, because usually you don't know anything about the ecosystem, and this is a great start to begin with, to know the ecosystem. So yeah, I think we also had, I didn't had much experience with pitching to investors. So yeah, pitching and getting know the ecosystem, getting know the startup ecosystem. I think these were behind our decision. That's why we joined. Also the cash. You were a startup and you need cash.
Yeah, of course, agree. The cash is definitely a very important thing for a startup. And I wanted to follow up on your answer, Baran, because I think that you're right. Even though sometimes, especially when you're a first-time investor, you really need smart money. You need someone that can give you and can help you navigate in this world. I will like to ask you, do you remember what was the thing that made you say, "Hey, I think this accelerator can really help me"? Because it's a decision that you make, but sometimes you don't know how a program is going to help. Is kind of you're trusting. What made you trust Startup Voice guys in that sense?
I checked out the alumni and saw some similar companies, not in the same vertical, but I saw that there are some IoT companies, startups in the alumni. So I thought that they could be a great help if we can connect with them and see what they have done before. That could be a great help. And I also checked the advisors, mentors. They seemed also very relevant to us. So alumni and mentors, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. I see that light dropped this moment. I will come back later. And I want to ask a question to Maxime. And my question is, how will you define, from your point of view as a general partner, a successful program? And that's how would you say, hey, this program for this startup was a success?
That's a very good question. I think it highly depends upon the direct feedback that we get from the startups. We're trying to get the right mentors, to get some kind of a tailor-made approach for every single startup that we onboard, to be sure that those startups get the help that they actually require, that they don't get unnecessary knowledge or that they don't lose hours. We really want to optimize and push the startups further. So I think one of the measure of success from an investment point of view would probably be if the startups, if all of them are raising a significant amount of money after the accelerator, that could be one of the measures of success that we see. But I think we all govern as VCs, we all govern by the same laws of the 20-80%, which is 20% of the startups that we actually investing in are succeeding or outperforming the market, and then reimbursing or making at least our funds and LPs happy. So far, we've been running 2 accelerators in Copenhagen. So Baran was part of the second one, Lilith was part of the first one. And so we've been experiencing different ups and downs onto the startups. We got extremely good feedback during the program, and then after the program, some of them are performing better than others. But I think it is relevant to what we can provide during the accelerator. We do the best we can. There are also limitations onto what we can do. We cannot just introduce to every single investor we have in our portfolio, because it also matters about what's a good match between the right startup with the right investor. So there's a lot of different components that we need to put together in order to make this a success. But so far, so good. For all the startups that we have in our portfolio, they all tend to be very happy.
Thank you, Maxime. And I think we have our first question from the audience, from Molly. And I guess this question is from Maxime. As a long question, so I'll try to ask it in the right way. So what Molly asks is, I do ponder, and sustainability is the term which is not used much by leading eco development. Why is that the focus?
The focus of sustainability, I think it's an important, because we're based in Europe, of course, we're regulated by a lot of new laws that are coming into places this year, next year, and the following one. We're all pursuing different goals. The SDGs are one. And so we're really trying to push or to at least move the needle in the right direction. So it's... I'm not entirely sure about the leading eco development. I think we need to be very precise onto the fact that we're investing in businesses that are geared up for growth. It's not an NGO, it's not a non-profit organization. So we're here to try to find solutions that can really change the world, but that can also be extremely profitable. So we need to figure out exactly where we stand, and we cannot, even though we would love to, we cannot just pursue or finance ideas that don't have those kind of metrics in place. If I understand the question right, but
yeah, actually, Molly also follow up and elaborate more on the question. They say regenerative and transformative, being more logical, has decreed more than what was before, and transformative and disruptive more, which is usually the most effective. This is basically me asking, are the advisors leading or sharing business norms? So I don't know if that helps to
yeah, I think it adds a little bit more. So Molly, you're entirely right. The regenerative agriculture is something that we're really pursuing. It is not so easy to find innovative ideas within the regeneration, because by the simple fact of regeneration is looking back at the methods of agriculture that were used 100 years ago and that we're trying to bring back to the market. So it's more like allowing more time for agriculture, or at least producing fruits, vegetables, and crops to actually grow in a more natural way. So innovative ideas linked with regeneration is not always easy to find. So we're really scouting a little bit everywhere to really try to find those startups, those founders, but it's not so easy. And from the advisor's point of view, we have a lot of advisors that are very active at European level, and therefore they're sharing everything that has been recently published, but they're not really leading any kind of new business norms in that sense. So they really want to go with the startups and try to comply and try to understand better, because it's a fairly complex area to fully understand. This new EU taxonomy is not so easy to comprehend and to get the ins and out of it. So we're trying to get the right experts for the right startups to really figure out what to do in that space and how to best grow your startup according to those new legislations.
Thank you, Max. And we also have a question from Adina, which I think I can easily answer. She asks, when does the program take place? And the programs actually will start the 26th of February. It is a 15 weeks program, which is going to be mainly online. We're going to have 2 or 3 weeks on site, and the first week that we are planning to be on site is tentatively the week of the 18th of March, where we're going to be in Copenhagen. And why we do this approach? Because we really believe that on-site weeks are extremely valuable, because on-site is when you have the chance to not only meet with your batchmates, meet with the Startup Wise Guys team, with your investor, but you also have the chance to have some important mentoring session, workshop. We try to get the most out of the time we spend in person, and it's also a great way to really get to know the people you are working with, and especially the startups, because one of the things that is usually under not really considered, but it's also the peer-to-peer mentoring, because you're working with you're working with startups that are in the same stage as you, that is usually facing the same challenges. So it's good to confront and to learn from others' experience. So thank you for the question, Adina. And I think we also have a question from Benedetta. So, as the product is agnostic in the field of sustainable startups, how do you manage to approach heterogeneous startups to measure the social and environmental impact? E.g., B2G startups climate tax versus B2C startups for social welfare. Which methodology will you use to assess their environmental and social impact? Max, I don't know if you want to say something, ask. I can definitely also elaborate more on your answer, but please.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question.
Just to give thank you and thank you, Benedetta, for the question. I think to really re-explain exactly what our focus is really much in agriculture and food. So we focus within sustainable startups. We're not so agnostic. We really focus on the environmental impact. The social impact, of course, has to be there, but that's not our main focus. And therefore, within that vertical, we invest only in B2B startups. So all the B2G startups and the B2C startups are not really for us. So we focus on a B2B startup within agriculture, within food, within circularity. So the methodologies that we assess for the environmental impact is that sometimes the startups that are applying don't have a life cycle assessment. So that's also something that we have to take in-house with our expertise, with our sustainability experts, and try to dig into every single startups to see if there's if that's the right settings for us to invest. So that's a very important factor that we take into consideration. But again, that's environmental impact within agriculture, food, and circularity.
Thank you. And I think also to elaborate how we deal in the program actually with maybe heterogeneous startups, in the sense that maybe they are facing different problems, or they are at slightly different stages. One of the things that we do is, we start the program in, let's call it, standardized way, in the sense that the way we mentor startup is we have different mentors. They do usually workshop, and so sessions that are one to many, but after all the session, we try to personalize also and tailor the support, offering the startup the chance to do one-on-ones. So the one-on-ones that they do with mentors, the one-on-one that they do with the managing director and with the partners, are definitely the ones that help the most us to support in a more specific way our company. And also we usually offer the chance at the end of the program to let's say use the possibility to have some ad hoc mentoring. So usually startups ask, hey, we need more support on this, can you help us? And we try to involve the right mentors that could actually help them in that specific needs. That can be, yes, from let's say, a sustainability point of view, but also from a business. It can be from whatever, okay? And another question we're having, what is the kind of traction most important with these accelerators? I think, what is the thing that you evaluate the most while you're choosing a startup in terms of traction, Max?
So I think that the most important beyond actual numbers is to have some kind of pilots in place, or some kind of clients that you already have, so we can establish the what the market is actually saying about your solution. I think the problem that you're solving is extremely important, but we need to figure out if that problem is actually shared by customers, and that what kind of customers are you getting on board. So I think that then if you would translate this into normal figure, that would be revenues. Regardless of recurring revenues at that stage, it would be revenues to figuring out where they're coming from, and then how your solution could be sold to more, and how could it grow. But maybe Baran, you could explain a little bit onto your traction, what happened before the accelerator, and what happens now that you are 1 year after the graduation from the accelerator.
Of course, we had traction from research institutes, and we have users from fruit exporters. So I think that gave you an idea. But during the program, we had a lot of meetings with potential customers, and during the program, as I said, we had a lot of customers. So traction, yes, it's important, and like I think the basic idea is there someone out there willing to pay for this product, this technology? I think this is the idea behind it, and we were able to show it to you. I don't think the how big is the traction is the idea here. I think the idea is it some company out there willing to pay for this technology, for this product? I think this is the idea behind investment.
Thank you, Baran. And I wanted to ask you also another question. Since you tell us that you were a first-time entrepreneur, a first-time CEO, what was or which were the main learning and the main value that you get from the program? So if you can tell us more about your experience of what you learned, what you needed to improve as a first-time CEO, and how that helped in your path and your career.
Yeah. I think it's how to talk with investors. We did countless pitching. So I think that was the biggest takeaway from the program. You need to know how to talk with investors, and you also need to learn what they expect from you, because venture capital is a very focused investment. They search for high growth companies. So understanding what they need is the biggest takeaway from for us. I think so. So we did a lot of pitching sessions. We refined our pitch deck. We also made a lot of pitching on stage. It's different than pitching in front of a computer. So I think, pitching was the biggest takeaway from the program for us.
Thank you, and this is also something that we always try to give as an opportunity to startups when it's possible and when the time is right. Because, for example, every program ends with a graduation day. There can be a pitching day, and especially I think last year we did this graduation in a startup conference that was startup day in Tartu in Estonia. So this is one of the things we are evaluating, especially for this program, to conclude the program during a conference, and the program will end around the first week, end of May, start of June, and of course we are not planning this beforehand, but we first want to look at the batch and how the batch looks like, because one of the things that we always see is like trying to see what kind of startup we're going to deal with, what kind of the challenges they are currently facing, in order to find the best opportunities also for them. And thank you, Baran. Thank you for sharing this. And I wanted to ask actually this question for both of you. And how do you see the post-program? So what happened after the program? And Max, maybe you can tell us more. How do you still, let's say, interact and support the startup after the program ends? And maybe, Baran, you can tell us more about how it feels to be part of Startup Wise Guys even after you've been in the program.
Yes, so typically the program, as you were saying, lasts for 16 to 18 weeks. The intensity is quite high, and so what we've noticed is that most of the startups don't really want to talk with us after the program ends, because we've been together for such an intense amount of time, and just keeping on bouncing ideas against each other, trying to help, trying to push, trying to every time, every day, trying to ask for more feedback, more things. What we've noticed is that the founders really don't want to speak with us for just 2-3 months, just to get a little bit of rest, try to expand the horizon, try to leverage on all those learnings, try to meet all those mentors, all those connections that we've made. And then they tend to come back to us, start to talk again. So because they have different plans, different ideas. I think it's just that the intensity tends to be quite a thing that we get as a feedback from at least both programs that we've had, and I'm sure that Baran can say the same. But essentially what happens after is that most of the startups are raising funds, and so they need our help to assess if the investment level is right, how to go about those fundraising rounds, and so we help on those, mostly on the financial side of this. So that's what we tend to help with, but we also tend to help with advices on hiring C-level position into the business. If there is any kind of issue within the founding team, then we can always advise on to if it's the right idea, not the right idea. We have our internal legal team that can also help a lot. So there are many different aspects that we can help with, but definitely with less intensity than during the program. And I'm sure that Baran, you experienced the same once the program was over, even though we still speak now on a regular basis, but definitely needed a break after the end of the program.
Yeah, it's really intense, but I think you need it. And having 2 or 3 co-founders definitely helps, because you can join the events, or you can choose between whatever you have to join. So after program, I would say we focused on increasing our traction and also looking for another investment. And we are about to close an investment round, and we found our angel investor from Startup Wise Guys network, Angel Network. So I think this is also another benefit from the program. You get to pitch and talk with a lot of investors, and so yeah, I think the biggest 2 important things: focus on attraction, because when you are in the program, you cannot focus on other things except on program. So after program, we focused on traction and our next investment round.
Thank you, Baran. Just a reminder to the people in the audience that we still have a bit of time if they have other questions. And I want also to elaborate on this after program, because I think that one of also the value the program is startup-wise community, in the sense is the people that are actually not only in the company, not only in the program, but they're gravitating toward, let's call it the startup-wise ecosystem, startup-wise guys ecosystem, because after that, after you're part of the communities, you'll always be part of that, and there is a lot of activities that we take in place to continue providing the value. And the first could be, of course, you're part of community of 440 startups we invested in, where you can always communicate with. You can ask for, there is the alumni Slack chat, where there are always people asking for suggestion, where they're asking for tips, for introductions. We have, of course, conference, and we go and we usually meet a lot of our startups. We have usually also discount codes that those are the minimum, but we also have the chance to bring startups on stage. Like last week, we were again in Tartu. We had a couple of acceleration program pitching on stage, and we had also some more time on stage that we expected. So we invited alumni that were in the companies to pitch, and that was extremely valuable. But this is goes also beyond, also with other activities like the gathering we do and other kind of events. So this is very important. And I also wanted to elaborate a little bit more on what Max said in terms of intensity on the program, because I agree with Max. We try to be as much intense as possible, and usually the after program is to finally start to implement your learning, and also in terms of the program, you have a couple of weeks that are called implementation weeks, because the way we work, usually also work with sprints, when you focus like market engineering sprints, product sprints, and we try to give you to challenge you actually as much as possible. We're trying to help you see things, because it's not an MBA. We're not a school. We are not teaching you. We are coaching you. We are challenging you. We are giving you the right tools to solve your problems, to face your challenges. And also we try to see and accompany you in testing those tools, and see what are the feedback, and then try to test other things. So we also have weeks where we are left to implement the things you're learning through the program, and see if they're actually working. So we can, again, because in the end, doing a startup is like this: is testing, failing, testing again, and learning from what you've tested. So I think there's another question that I skipped before. When selecting the participating in startups, what are you looking at with priority, i.e. impact of the product or service, technological novelty, team members? I think in a way we talk about traction, but maybe Maxim, you can also say what do you think about these other things about a startup.
Sure. Typically, I think, beside the fact that it needs to tick some boxes, being in the right stage of development for the startup, it needs to be within sustainability, within the verticals that we're investing. What we're looking at mostly is the team. The team plays a key aspect into our decision. We tend not to invest in solo founders because we believe that having multiple co-founders around the table can really help, not too many either, but can really help in scaling the business and complementing each other's strength. So we like those kind of like settings of teams, and that also translates onto the cap table, figuring out who owns what into this business. It shouldn't be a CEO with 99% and then another co-founder with 1%. So we need to look into the team members, how they set up, what kind of capabilities they have, what kind of strengths that they have, who should be the CEO position, so who is really taking the lead on this project, and then a strong technical founder is always something that we are looking after. Now for the actual solution, that's one thing, but we tend to see startups pivoting 2-3 times before the Series A. So the solution is one thing, but we really need to strongly believe in the problem. understanding the problem, figuring out if there has been enough research about it. So I would say that the two main focus are first the team and second the problem that they're solving.
Okay, thank you. And at this point, can you tell us also a little bit more about the selection process? How to select the lucky 10 or the fabulous 10 that get in the program?
So the fabulous 10. So we're going through a lengthy process of due diligence. So we're going from the 300, let's say 300 applications that are coming our way. From those 300, we are having a first call with all of them, or almost all of them, if they fit the requirements. And then from that first call, they start moving down the line onto the actual due diligence, onto the tech due diligence, the legal due diligence, the financial due diligence. And so once we've done through all those stages, we are gathering into a boot camp that is happening 3 or 4 times before the program starts. And during that boot camp, the startup can pitch their solution, the problem, the team, and so forth, to all the general partners of Startup Wise Guys. Once this is done, we have an investment committee. And during that investment committee, we decide onto which one is a strong yes, and we should start negotiating, which one is a maybe, and we should give them a little bit of homework, and which one is a no-go, and unfortunately, we have to let them go. So it's a pretty lengthy process with multiple steps. So we are sure that we're looking at the business 360 degrees, and we have a full understanding and grasp onto the team, the solution, the problem, and so forth. And then once we are negotiating with the startups, then it goes down to what kind of deal that we can offer, what kind of a deal the startups is willing to accept, and that is definitely up for negotiation. There is no set. There are no set terms beside the investment of up to 120,000. We don't have set terms for the actual valuation of the business. So that is up for discussion, negotiation.
Thank you. We have a couple of minutes left, so please, audience, if you have a question, I strongly suggest you to make it now so we can actually read it. And one final question, maybe Maxime, about the selection process, the evaluation, because one thing that a lot of startups always ask me is they are fundraising, but they will still want to consider joining Accelerator, and they often ask me, can this investment be part of another round? Can Startup Wise Guys lead the investment? How does it work in terms of other investment that are coming? Is this something that is possible? Is there some things that won't make a startup eligible to get an investment?
Unfortunately, I couldn't hear the last part of the question, but
No, yes, okay. No, that was, is that something that makes, in terms of getting an investment, a startup not eligible to take an investment? That was the conclusion of the question.
So there are many ways. There are many items on which we're very focusing on. Which, as an example, the cap table. The cap table needs to be healthy. If we see a cap table at the pre-seed / seed level startup, where most of the equity is already towards the investors or towards silent founders, or that would be a bit of an issue. So what we want to see is that the company is owned by the people that are actually working hard on it. That's one of the key factors. For the rest, if they are not eligible, I think that is up for precise and exact definition of what we understand by this. We do take the lead in most cases, because we tend to be the first investors in many of the startups, but we're not afraid at all at leaving someone else taking the lead, and therefore joining an existing round and completing that round. What we do value is that we do an investment because we strongly believe that the startups also need the accelerator program. we do believe that the value of the Accelerator program, it's so great that it can really help the startup overachieve and over deliver. So that is what we strongly believe in. So we wouldn't be participating into such a large deal that is 10 times over or investment of 120K, because we all know that if that happens, then it might not be super active within the accelerator. And we do believe that we can add a lot of value. So again, it goes back to this win-win scenario where we need to see that the startup can benefit from all the help that we can get, and that we also can see that the startup is the right fit for us into our vertical and into our growth potential expectations.
Thank you, Max. I've seen that there is another question from Molly, which actually, Max, we already covered. They ask what are the common terms of the investment? Seems like the 7% is common investment. What is your norm? As Max was saying, there is actually not set terms, especially in terms of equity that is taken, is not convertible, and it depends on the cap that has been defined, and that's up to the negotiation, up to discussion. So there is no set terms, correct, Max?
Yeah, agreed on that. I think that what we have internally, at least when we're discussing the investment terms, we would never go over 10%. That's by default, because we believe that if we take too much of a chunk of a business, then it might be complicated for the business to keep on being attractive to investors at a later stage. So we still, as I was saying, we still want to have the founders of the people actually working within the startup to own the majority of the shares. But there is no 7% is indeed a common amount that those businesses are taking. Many other accelerators are taking alongside those lines. We're not so far away from this either for most of the businesses that we're investing in. But again, we don't have a fixed percentage.
Thank you. And I wanted to conclude with a final question to Baran. That is more an open question. So what is the advice that you would give, or what would you say to startups that are considering applying to the acceleration program?
Yeah, as I said, I definitely recommend, especially if they are a first-time founder joining the program. I remember screaming with joy when I got the confirmation email from Attila, our MD, and I gave a promise to Max about something, and I intend to keep it. So yeah, I definitely recommend joining the program. You will be pitching a lot. You will be learning about delving deep into your market dynamics. You will get amazing mentors, mentoring from mentors, and yeah, I definitely recommend joining the program. It was one of the best decisions we made so far.
Thank you. Thank you, Baran. Thank you, Max. Thank you, everybody that has joined us today. I just wanted you to remember that the application for our program closes on February 2nd. If you are still looking for more information, you can actually read more information on the link that has been provided also in this in the description of this event. Otherwise, you can easily reach out to us, to me, to Max, to Baran, to LinkedIn, or via email. My email is lorenzo@startupwise.com. So for whatever question, we're here for you, and we hope to see your application soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Baran. Thank you, Lorenzo. Have a great rest of the day.
Have a great day.